While the Hurricanes are on a holiday break, there is no breaks for Locked On Hurricanes. So you know what? For a Christmas edition of the show, why not talk about Christmas movies?
You're Locked On Hurricanes, your daily podcast on the Carolina Hurricanes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to a Wednesday Christmas special of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you to the Everyday for making this your first listen of the day. 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, talking everything about your Carolina Hurricanes. I'm your host, Zach Martin. I'm the credentialed Carolina Hurricanes beat writer over at the Hockey Writers. I'm also the co-host of the Search Cast, which is a weekly Carolina Hurricanes podcast, along with all my dudes here at Locked On Hurricanes. Got a festive Christmas special edition of the show, as I asked the Caniacs what's their favorite Christmas movies, because why not talk a little about Christmas on Christmas Day, since the Hurricanes are still off until Friday. And I'll even give my top 5 Christmas movies list as well, just to get into the holiday spirit. But there is some Hurricanes related stuff that's going to be part of the show, so not just all about Christmas movies. It is the Christmas wish list for what we're hoping for the Carolina Hurricanes will get from Santa Claus. Of course, I wrote an article about that at the Hockey Writers. If you haven't checked it out, make sure to go to thehockeywriters.com, find me on there, and you can check out that wish list that I think the Hurricanes will do and hopefully get from Santa for the rest of the season going into 2025. But before we jump into anything that is festive for this holiday special, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $250 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Now, we are going to get started with the fact that it is, Christmas, and, there is no, rest for all of us here at Locked On, and, doing some Christmas shows. And, I thought, take a nice little break from, talking fully Hurricanes for 30 minutes and be a little bit festive on this Christmas Day episode for anyone who listened. If you do listen today, I really appreciate you guys. Hope everyone is enjoying their time with their families. If you haven't listened to this yet, and it's going to be the day after Christmas, I hope you had a great Christmas and hope you got amazing stuff from family, Santa Claus, and all that good stuff, or whatever other holiday you celebrate this time of year. I hope you got amazing gifts. Now, I did ask on social media and went to X and Blue Sky. I did ask Caniacs for their favorite Christmas movies. I actually got a pretty good wide range. A lot of, repeats, but hey, you know what? It's good to see, what preferences we have for the Christmas season for the Caniacs. And Eric K8, obviously coming out right out the gates early with Muppets Christmas Carol. And honestly, great selection. I mean, if you're talking about anything, there's a lot of good Christmas carols for sure. You got the George C. Scott one, you got the animated Jim Carrey. But for me, Muppets Christmas Carol, it's definitely up there as one of the good ones, especially when you're talking about how good Michael Caine does as Scrooge, and how for the fact that he, a true thespian of his craft, just comes in right, from start to finish, just puts on a master class of, he knows this is a Muppet movie, but he's going to take this so seriously and does a phenomenal job. So, yeah, you can never go wrong with Muppets Christmas Carol as being one of the staple holiday movies you have to watch. So, yeah, Eric coming right out the gates with that. He did mention, also talking about Treasure Island just as, another great Muppets movie, which is great. But what a way to come right out the gates with Muppets Christmas Carol. Cannot go wrong with that. Jess Belmosto from Locked On Flames, great podcast. Make sure to go check it out if you want to keep up with other teams around the league and see how they're doing as well. But she's awesome. Make sure to go check out her podcast or go follow her. She's a great follow on X for sure. So now she does pull out 2 movies actually. So it's A Wonderful Life and Jingle All the Way with Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's a good one too. I think it's almost a very underrated Christmas movie. I think a lot of people might have this on their list, but I don't know if a lot of people do, but it's a really good one as well. But It's a Wonderful Life. I mean, that's no surprise that's one of those staples that you just have to watch. It's, just seeing the progression of the character throughout the story, and it's so good. Like you can't beat a story like that. So yeah, It's a Wonderful Life, great movie, definitely a must watch. If you haven't seen it, I don't know why, you have to watch the Jimmy Stewart movie. It's fantastic. Ricky comes in with Love Actually, and you know what? That's an interesting choice because it's very. I've heard a lot of hit and misses on Love Actually being one of someone's favorite or something they'd watch. So you talk about a who's who of a cast as well. Definitely have to watch this one of you guys who have not seen this one yet. He does pull out The Holiday, another good one as well. This is from Canes and Dogs, A Year Without Santa Claus, and he also puts Can't Beat Heat Miser. Very old school classic Christmas movie from the 60s. I know my parents grew up on this. I watched it every year when I was home with them. You never beat Snow Miser and Heat Miser, just really banger songs when it comes to we listen to those ones, but honestly, very, very solid. It's good to see you kind of be like that old school 60s, 70s cartoons are still making the rounds as one of the ones that are very, very popular as well. So thank you to everyone on X who sent those in. Now we're going to move over to Blue Sky. And Keith RBB comes in with two movies, actually. He said the newest one that he's seen was pretty good, and that was Red One. And I think that's one with The Rock and a few other ones as well, kind of being bodyguards for Santa Claus. I haven't seen it. I've seen the previews. I'm really curious of how that one plays out. And then he comes in with A Christmas Story. And, being from Northeast Ohio, the movie was set in Cleveland. You actually can go check out the house in Cleveland. If you haven't done that yet, I would highly recommend it if you're ever up in that area of Northeast Ohio, Cleveland area. You definitely have to go check out the Christmas Story house because they do have the lamp leg in the window and all that great stuff. And obviously everyone knows it's that TBS special they do every year where it's 24 hours all day during Christmas. And I'll say this, I think I've watched A Christmas Story maybe once in the last 5 years. It's not one of my favorites, but it's definitely one that you're like, okay, yeah, I might watch it if you're in the mood. But I can see why a lot of people like it. It's just, one of those automatic classics. You know the references of you shoot your eye out, kid. Fudge, but I didn't say fudge. Or Fred Gile. It's Italian. So there's a lot of great lines in that movie. Like I said, it's not one of my favorites, but I'll watch it in a blue moon if it's something that, that catches my attention. I'm like, I'll give it a watch. But it's definitely one of those where you just know that's one of those automatics, almost on everyone's top 5 list. Anna brought up A Christmas Carol, the Michael C. Scott version. Yes, I accidentally said George C. Scott was the Michael C. Scott version, but nonetheless, yes, that is if you're talking the epitome of a Christmas Carol that's not Muppets related, the Michael C. Scott version is the best. Like top tier, great cast. It definitely gets very spooky towards the farther end. We talk about Ghosts of Christmas Future or Christmas Yet to Come. It does get definitely very spooky for sure. But overall, I think that the Michael C. Scott version of Christmas Carol is bar none the best live action of that show or that movie, really. Like I said, there's some animated ones that are really good. The Muppets movies, Christmas Carol is really good. But yeah, if you're talking Michael C. Scott, that is the top tier. If you want to watch a version of A Christmas Carol, that's the one to do it for. And then Chess coming in with It's a Wonderful Life. Once again, obviously another great one. Is like I said, talked about a little bit ago. It's a great one. You can never go wrong with It's a Wonderful Life. It's one of those classics. And I'd say there's a few other Jimmy Stewart movies, especially around Christmas time, that are really, really good. And you really can't go wrong with those as well. And that's the thing. It's it's so hard to kind of pick what your favorite Christmas movie is because there's just a wide range. And there's so many different preferences of what people like and stuff like that. And I know if you're on social media, Mike Maniscalco did reference Die Hard as a Christmas movie. And you know what? I do have some thoughts on that debate. So stick around as I'll give my top 5 Christmas movies and let you know if I think Die Hard is or isn't a Christmas movie. So stick around as we'll do that here in a second on a Christmas holiday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get on the regular season action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Not only can you bet on who will win the game, but FanDuel also has bets for which players will score a touchdown, how many points each team will score, and so much more. So just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. Make every member more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Welcome back to segment 2 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. So like I said, at the end of segment 1, I will be going over my top 5 Christmas movies list. I know I asked for your favorites. I know it's tough. But I figure I'd give my top 5, but I'm going to come right out of the gate and say this and talk about Die Hard. Is it a Christmas movie? And I know Mike Maniscalco mentioned it on X on Christmas Eve. And if you're on social media, kind of follow the Ducks and also check out the Cherry Bomb podcast. You know that Annie O.D. also talks about, the Cherry Bomb podcast, talking about is Die Hard a Christmas movie? And I know a few others who do say it is. Some say it's not. But for me, I think Die Hard is a Christmas movie. He goes to L.A. It's during Christmas time. He gets invited to a Christmas party, and it's, there's Christmas music, there's lights, there's a party. Hans Gruber and his crew, go and take over the building at the right time because not a lot of people are going to be there. Everyone's going to be focused on Christmas stuff. So just where it's the time of year that it's set and just the circumstances of what it surrounds, yeah, I definitely say it's a Christmas movie. I know people are like, oh, it's an action movie. It's not really that. And no, it is. I honestly, genuinely believe that Die Hard is a Christmas movie. And if you say it's not, well, hey, that's your opinion. But for me, it is. So I'm sorry if you don't think it is, hey, like I said, you do you. But for those who say that Die Hard is a Christmas movie, you're my right kind of people, that's for sure. Is it my top 5? It's actually not, surprisingly enough. It is not. I love Die Hard, but it's not in my top 5 when it comes to Christmas movies. It's not. Like I said, I enjoy it, but it's not my top 5. But starting out at number 5, we're going from 5 to 1 on this list. And before I start, let me know in the comments, what's your top 5 Christmas movies if you're on YouTube? If you don't have a top 5, you just want to do a top 3, that's fine too. But if you have a top 5 Christmas list, let me know in the comments below or let me know on social media. I'll even post my top 5 on there during Christmas Day. And, leave me your opinions on what your top 5 is on X or on Blue Sky as well. So I'll give you those ats later on in the show. But my number 5 in terms of Christmas movies is Shop Around the Corner. It is another Jimmy Stewart movie, and if you don't really guys know about this one, I highly recommend it. It's set in Europe. It's, I believe Hungary, I think is where it's kind of set at, but it's a great Christmas movie kind of set in Europe, around this time of year, it's a great, just wholesome story that's kind of, people being around in the shop, a lot of stuff's going on, and it's just one of those, Jimmy Stewart movies that set around this, around Christmas time. It's such a, a lot of stuff goes on that like I said, I don't really want to spoil if no one's really seen the X. I know it's kind of a classic, not a, ones that a lot of people might know. So I'm going to try to not do spoilers for a lot of these. But I would say if you're looking for a good old black and white movie, if you like A Wonderful Life with Jimmy Stewart, I would definitely highly recommend Shop Around the Corner. It's another great one. Definitely one you want to check out for sure because it's just the way it's so wholesome and just the overall character arc of a lot of these characters in this story and just a lot of stuff that goes down in it. It's very, very good. Cannot say enough about it. Now, This is where it's going to get interesting because you think of the Grinch, and where does it stack up with, like, the Benedict Cumberbatch one that just came out recently? You're talking about the old school classic Grinch from the 60s, 70s, Jim Carrey's stuff like that. There's a lot of which Grinch movies are really, really good. And I say for me, if we're talking Grinch, I grew up, with the Jim Carrey one, watched it every year. I mean, obviously I did watch the cartoon one as well. But for me, I think the Jim Carrey Grinch is probably my favorite out of them. Watch it every year since it came out in theaters. It came on DVD. It was a family tradition every year with my family watching it. Unfortunately, I could definitely quote this entire movie by heart. And it comes in at number 4. I would put it higher, but just over the years, I've been getting more fond of other Christmas movies above this one. But I would be remiss if I didn't put this in my top 5 just because of the tradition of watching with my family every year. And just Jim Carrey does such a great job in this movie of being the Grinch. It's just the way he portrays him, just a lot of great lines of, it's like the Grinch. It's just the ways, the chair cheer, it's just, there's so many elements of just like, you can definitely tell that of way they wanted to go with it. They do such a great job with the movie too. And of course, Max is, just kind of like you kind of feel for Max in this movie just because of him. Like you can, just tell he's like, oh, okay, here we go again type stuff. And it's just like, he wants to enjoy, like when he does his little own Christmas party while Grinch is down there in Whoville. Honestly, another great one as well. You cannot beat Jim Carrey's Grinch. And for me, coming at number 3, I mean, it's A Wonderful Life. I mean, we already talked about it. It's definitely up there as one of the classics. Another great Jimmy Stewart movie. So it's just the way you look at how the spirit of, you don't realize how much you touch people's lives just because of how, you go above and beyond for other people as well. And then when you really need it the most, that they're going to be there for you. And, if you're not a part of people's lives, there's, the effect of, if you're not there, you change the course of how important your life is and just the fact of how much of an impact you have on other people. And if you're not there, you can see the repercussions of that. So it's just the way you see Jimmy Stewart's character giving up so much and, caring about so many other people, kind of putting off what he wanted to do to help his town and, get married and raise a family and stuff like that. Then, just seeing how it goes, differently when he's not there, and then kind of realizing like, yeah, he wants to, live and be, just enjoy what he has. So yeah, definitely another great Jimmy Stewart movie is A Wonderful Life. Like I said, shop around the corner. That one as well. You cannot go wrong with Jimmy Stewart movies, especially around Christmas time. They are definitely fun ones to watch. And then now, getting in at number 3, this is definitely going to be tough in terms of, you look at how, what's a good, because it's all opinion of like what Christmas movies you kind of think of are. And for me, I think this is another one that's just so good. And I really like this one. This is a White Christmas. And this is with Bing Crosby and Danny Kaye. This is a, 1954 version, it came out then. Another really great black and white. It's also in color too. You can find the one for that. But it's just something about of just how that movie was portrayed. They do such a great job with it. Just being able to, they go up to Vermont during Christmas time, puts on a great show, and it's just, I don't know, just something about White Christmas is so good. It's just the fact too. It's like it almost ties into another Bing Crosby one of The Holiday Inn, another great movie as well. Of course, it's going up to a hotel throughout the seasons, and it's just something about Bing Crosby and just of those old school 50s movies of just a lot of musicals and stuff like that. They're very, very good. Definitely ones that you really have to enjoy, and I mean you really can't go wrong with those type of movies. So I would definitely say if you're into movies from like the 50s with a lot of like musical numbers and stuff like that, I would say White Christmas is a good one. And I would also honorable mention Holiday Inn as well. Definitely some really good Bing Crosby old school type of Christmas movies to watch as well. And my number one, and it's tough because I like both these types of Christmas Carol movies because, we mentioned the ones earlier, and I was right first time. It was the George C. Scott version of A Christmas Carol, not Michael C. Scott. It was the George C. Scott version. That's my ultimate favorite all-time Christmas movie. Like I said, I know it's kind of, it's one of those ones where it's like, it gets a little spooky towards the end, but just the way that movie is portrayed, doing such a good job, it's really great. And for me, it's kind of a toss-up between that one and The Muppets Christmas Carol, just because of how good that one is as well. So it's like, while Muppets isn't in my top 5, it's one of those ones where it's like, oh, if I have to watch one, I have to watch the other one as well. So it's almost a parallel of however it goes, it's going to be there. So I definitely would say it's another one of those honorable mentions with Holiday Inn. So there's a lot of good other Christmas movies, but let me know in the comments, guys. What's your top 5? What do you think about my list? Do you think it's like, okay, I can see where he's coming from in terms of that? Because we got Shop Around the Corner, we got Jim Carrey's Grinch. It's A Wonderful Life. You're talking, White Christmas. Christmas Carol. There's just so many good movies out there that you really can't go wrong with them. So let me know in the comments what your top 5 is. But that does it for the Christmas movies edition. Now we get to talk the actual Hurricanes hockey. I know you were coming for a lot more Canes-centric stuff. That will be for the Thursday episode. I know you guys are kind of, wanting to, do a little more Canes stuff, which we will do here in the third segment. But if you're looking for a more Canes-heavy 30 minutes type stuff, that will be for the Thursday episode. I just wanted to do something a little bit festive for this Christmas edition because, it's Christmas Day. You're in the middle of the holiday break. Why not break it up and have a little bit of fun talking about Christmas movies? Because why not enjoy them? Because we're already going to be watching them Christmas Day. So why not, listen to hear what other people might be watching and, get to hear my top 5 and see, hey, maybe this movie I haven't heard of, maybe you should go check out. So there you go. But stick around and we will do the Canes wish list for 2025. Hopefully Santa does bring that to them. So stick around as we'll do that here in a second on a Christmas holiday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. If you love sports, you're going to love PrizePicks, the best place to turn your sports knowledge into real money. Whether it's hockey, football, or any of your favorite sports, PrizePicks makes it easy to get in on the action. You can now win up to 1,000 times your money on PrizePicks. Plus, this holiday season, you're giving away $30 million in rewards during Picksmas and offering 2 free picks in December. And when your picks hit, PrizePicks makes it easy to cash out. You can get your money as fast as 15 minutes. Now, later on this week when the Hurricanes play the New Jersey Devils, I'm looking to see maybe if Jack Hughes has more than 3 shots in a game. Maybe Martin just might have more than 1 goal. Now, with PrizePicks, it's so simple to make my picks and have fun with friends while potentially cashing out fast. So download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's right, $50 instantly. Where you can do that? Well, you can do that at PrizePicks, where you can run your game. Welcome back to segment 3 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. And like I said at the end of segment 2, we are going to talk about some Canes-related stuff since it's obviously Locked On Hurricanes. You don't even talk about Christmas movies the entire time. But I figure for this Christmas holiday special, we get to go over what I would think would be the Canes wish list going into 2025. Now, like I said, I did write a Hurricanes wish list for the Hockey Writers. I will leave a link down in the description below, or you can just go to thehockeywriters.com. You can go to our Canes section of the page, and you can find our Dear Santa Hurricanes wish list. But I figured this is a good little segment to have since it's the holiday episode. And there is some things in an article that I will be referencing here too. So if you want to just read the written version or get a better understanding of what I'm talking about, you can definitely check that out. But one of the main things is more consistent hockey from the Hurricanes. I wrote that last year as well for the Hurricanes. This is when they were, coming after the Western Canadian road trip where they had the players only meeting, but they did catch on pretty quick after that. kind of the same thing that they're going on now. Not as bad, but I mean, they're still 6 points up on the Pittsburgh Penguins. They still have 3 games in hand on them as well. So you're still pretty much locked in for a good playoff spot as the 3rd team in the Metro. But since Utah, you've been kind of seeing a lot of, like I've been saying this a lot, Jekyll and Hyde hockey, inconsistent up and down, where it's like they'll start hot, kind of take the foot off the gas and kind of try to pick it up later. Hopefully then let the other team stay in it or take the lead. Or, like the game against Seattle and even more so against the Nashville Predators. I would say more so the Predators, worse than anything else, is the slow starts, not really getting into click into high gear, kind of taking too long to get in the game. Nashville was definitely a lot worse than the Kraken one. But you kind of get that one as well. But then you will do see the occasional game where the Hurricanes are playing a full 60 minutes. And, I know it's tough. Everyone's human. It's hard to play 60 minutes night in and night out, especially when you got 3 games in 4 days or you got a bunch of back-to-backs. I get that. You got to empathize with the guys because, they're all human as well. But the I would say wish list number 1 for the Hurricanes is more consistent play. Go on a 2-3 game winning streak, maybe lose 1 here, but make it a competitive loss. Then go for another 2 wins, or just being able on a night-to-night basis play your game, even if it's for 45 minutes or 50 minutes or whatever, just give us that more consistent Hurricanes hockey that we saw at the start of the season, because you saw how good the team was doing. When you look at the fact that you look at that that Western Canadian road trip, you go 5-1, you come back, you take care of business against Boston. You're doing pretty good to the first part of November. Then you hit Utah, kind of been up and down recently. But I would definitely say if we get even that early Hurricanes part of the season, I'm not talking about 5-1. They're blowing the doors off everyone, but just we're on a nightly basis. You're seeing them starting on time, being consistent, giving you 60 minutes, not games where it's they start hot, take a break, and try to kick it into gear, or they're starting late and stuff like that. It's just, my main thing is just give us full 60 minutes of Hurricanes hockey and play consistently to where it's not, okay, what team are we going to get tonight type thing. So that's what you're kind of hoping for. Another thing, and I kind of mentioned in the article, and I think that's kind of rearranged itself, so I'm going to have to pivot off the, figure out the goaltending situation, because right now Pierre Kachekov is playing great hockey. And I even wrote an article on that too, is in terms of the Hurricanes, while they do have struggles and they're having problems right now, the net isn't one of them. And you definitely saw that against the Nashville Predators, where and with Pierre Kachekov, yes, maybe he has let in some soft goals, but you're talking about a guy who's a sub 2.5 goals against, is up in the 900s in save percentage, and he's tied for 6th in wins for a goalie at 14 on the season. It's not really on him. And Dustin Jakarski, you really can't put that Nashville game on him, because he basically kept the Hurricanes in the game for the most part until the wheels fell off in the third period, where they gave up 2 goals pretty quick. And then the Hurricanes kind of finally figured it out with 15 minutes left in the game. So I would say goaltending isn't the issue. So I would say this kind of ties into the wish list number 1 is for wish list 2 to figure out how to get the offense back going again. And I don't know, maybe if that is once again another line shuffle, maybe go trade for someone that you think could kind of help. It's right, and I understand that it's not every guy's doing, it seems like you have a couple guys every night who are doing their jobs night in, night out, and then maybe some guys have an off night, which everyone does. But I think this is a thing where it's if there are certain things that are working, like Carrier and the Jordans, keep them together. If Robinson and Nietzsche are working together, keep them together. And it's just, I'm not saying go blow up the roster or have to, go sell the farm, but I do think you have all these great prospects in Chicago. Maybe there's a roster guy that you're okay, he's doing really well, but maybe there's a change of scenery thing, or maybe, it's not, it's the fit isn't really right now. Maybe there's a trade that you can go do. I'm not saying make a knee-jerk reaction trade, but I think for the forwards, you've got to figure out the forward core and figure out, okay, what component are we missing here that maybe we're 1 or 2 guys away from that next step, and maybe not wait until the trade deadline. Maybe go and do it now. Maybe early January, go get that guy. Have all of January. February, March. Like, extend him longer than just the trade deadline on March 7th to the end of the regular season with like 20 games left. I say if you really want to get someone going on this roster that you trade for on the forward side of things, bring him in earlier. Bring him in early January and give him that runway of January, February, March, and part of April going into the playoffs. Now you're getting more than 20 games. You're getting the whole base of the back half of the season to get that guy acclimated and get him ready to go for the playoffs. So I don't know if there is a certain guy they're looking for. I'm not saying not just don't make a knee-jerk move to make a move, but make a hockey move that helps benefit the team in an upgrade in a sense that's going to work for the team overall, and give him a longer runway than just March. Give him January and February in that process, and I think that might work really well. So my second wish list item for the Hurricanes is go figure out your forward core and maybe bring someone in and do it a lot sooner than rather just the deadline, and give him that long second half of a runway to get it figured out as well. And my third one is, and it kind of also ties in basically to number 1 and 2, is like you got to hope that the star players live up to the star player potential. Martin Necas, yes, he has kind of cooled off recently, but I think a lot of teams are figuring him out because right now he is still almost running as a one-man show in the top 6. Yes, there's games where Aho does this thing. Seth Jarvis is playing a lot of two-way hockey right now, 200 feet. So maybe his goal scoring isn't up like it used to be. But Andrei Svechnikov had a run where he had three power play goals and was kind of, doing his thing. But, they're trying to figure out what line to put him on to get him going too, because obviously with Aho and Jarvis, that wasn't really going. Him with KK and Necas wasn't really going. Then they have on the fourth line with Jost and Blake. And I think for the fact that it's like you got to figure out how to get him going. Yes, he does have 8 power play goals, which I think is top 5 in the NHL right now. But it's one of those things where it's like you want more consistent 5-on-5 play out of him and a few other guys as well. So I think my wish list number 3 item, it's just getting your star players to be the star players that you want night in and night out, especially in a game like Nashville where Rod said that's a game where you needed your star guys to come up big and be the guys they needed to be. So I think that's like my third wish list item, is just having the star guys give you that extra bump, give you that extra motivation to go and get that game, go take over when the rest of the team is maybe struggling, or at least need that extra boost. So that's kind of what I would hope for going into 25, is the star players to get it back into gear and not having to rely on Necas to kind of one-man show this whole thing. And it's not like he maybe has given up a few turnovers recently, but that's because he's trying to do a lot right now. And I think a lot of the other teams around the league are kind of figuring him out as well. So you have to kind of help him not get isolated by the rest of these teams. Because like, oh, well, Necas is the guy right now. Let's just zero him out, because if we zero him out, then the rest of the team goes quiet. So I think the Hurricanes' other big guys need to kind of start being more dangerous consistently to get the eyes off of Necas, so that way they can give him the opportunity to do what he did, to where he was, 40-something points in 30 games and all that stuff too. I think that kind of plays into where they need the star guys to get the eyes off of Necas and let him do his thing, because he's right now being isolated by the rest of the league for what he's done so far this season. But that's where I think we're at right now. It's just more consistent hockey from the Hurricanes. Go figure out the forward situation, and then the star guys need to step up and help out the guys who are, been kind of leading the way so far this season. But, in the comments below, let me know, what would your wish list be for the Carolina Hurricanes going into 25, along with your Christmas list as well for your top 5 movies. But, guys, that will wrap up the Christmas holiday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Thank you for being the first listen of the day. Check out Locked On Fantasy Hockey. Become a fantasy hockey expert and get the edge over your league mates with daily tips from Steal and Flip. Find Locked On Fantasy Hockey on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you want to check me out, I'm at OneTrueZach on X. The podcast is LO_Hurricanes. I'm also on Blue Sky at the Zachary Martin. I do have link trees in both of my bios. where you can check out my articles at the Hockey Writers, or just go to thehockeywriters.com. You can check out me at Zach Martin on there for my author page. You can find all of my articles. I will link a couple of the articles down in the description below for the Christmas wish list, and also as well the other articles that were mentioned on the show as well. If you want to check out my other podcasts, just go to the Searchcast. You can find it on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. For this show, Google, Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen to the podcast, follow, subscribe, leave a 5-star rating and review, because if you do, I might just read on the show. For YouTube, Locked On Hurricanes, subscribe, hit the bell notification so you don't miss a show. Hit the thumbs up button. Let me know if you like the show as well. Share it with all other Caniacs to become everydayers just like you. But guys, I hope you enjoyed the Christmas holiday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. I hope everyone had a great holiday. Whenever you listen to this, I hope you guys had a lot of fun with family. Hope you got some really great presents, got to enjoy being around with all of them, and just hope you guys had a safe holiday season. But I hope you guys have a good rest of your day, and until next time, as always, let's go Kings.